Hi, everyone. All right. It looks like I'm going to record this sort of like a solo podcast. I hope that you guys are able to see the replay in better quality video and audio this time. This one's going to be short. I just wanted to revisit some of the common errors that tend to keep us stuck, tend to hold us back in our stronger and leaner and getting healthy journey. You may have heard me mention these before. It never hurts to revisit things because even if we learn something once, the more often we keep hearing it, maybe in different ways, it tends to land better for maybe you or a different person. And once you sort of just grasp the idea, the concept runs automatically in the background. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to automate our nutrition, our strength, our recovery systems, as well as our belief systems. That's a huge part that's often overlooked in our health journey. So, this is going to be about 25 minutes, and I'm just going to go over some common scenarios. A lot of you guys are doing things correctly and you are not giving yourselves enough credit. So, that is realization number one. Pat yourself on the back, give yourself credit. Progress doesn't go quickly if we guilt and shame ourselves into doing anything. Sort of like kids, they tend to respond better to positive reinforcement. So that's the gift we're going to give ourselves as well. Um, so, one of the common things I see is a mindset sort of belief trap, and it's thinking once I hit my goal weight, I'm good. I can relax, stop. I was of that mindset for years. So let's take a case scenario. I'm changing the names. We'll take May. She wanted to lose weight for a wedding first, about 2 years ago, and then about 6 months ago for a reunion. She could lose the weight for her events. She'd lock down for a month, lose the weight, but then slowly it would come back and she would get frustrated. This happened for probably like 10 plus years. And it's because the default mode actually takes over. Once you hit what you think is a finish line, you relax, the default mode takes over and it gets back in the driver's seat. And this happens because habits are not automated in the background. Regular protein intervals, regular vegetables, regular fiber, strength training, consistency. We tend to go back into default mode unless those habits are automated in the background. That's why we're teaching systems in our community. This month is muscle building system. And then next month, what we're going to do is dial in on calories so that 1, 2, 3, 10 years from now, your meal building and your muscle is automated. Your cognitive load is freed up to do other things that you love. Health can be fun, not stressful. And so let's get back to May. What would happen is the afternoon goodies like boutique treats from travel, rice crackers, chips, novel snacks, stress eating, eating out of boredom would creep back in. And this is not just this person, this is all of us. So no shame in any of this because this behavior is normal. We're swimming in a sea of ultra processed foods that taste delicious. I think it tastes delicious. It's manufactured for us to not be able to eat just one. It's manufactured to have low nutrients, low satiety. So, what happens with those? We eat more. What happens if we eat more? We buy more, and the manufacturer makes more money. It's not a conspiracy, it just is what it is. Um, and so for this lady, May, we decided that we were going to not focus on getting into a certain goal weight for an event, but we were just going to do the boring things that work, boring work. So slow paced, one habit at a time. So, first, protein with every meal, not skipping meals, vegetables with one meal for the day, and then eventually vegetables with 2 or 3 meals a day. Maybe dialing in on our portions of fruit and carbohydrates. And then we shorten workouts from 45 minutes to 15 to 20 minutes, 4 to 5 times a week. We would keep in touch as far as accountability. If it's not with me, find an accountability partner. If worst comes to worst, you have AI be your accountability partner. But that is an extra layer that a lot of people skip. It's knowing that they can skip their workout and no one even thinks to care or blink an eye. Accountability is important. And I always tell the story about my friend Nani, who actually started yoga. She wouldn't have gone had it not been for Summer calling her all the time, calling her husband, making sure that Nani showed up to the yoga room, even on days she was hungover, and literally doing that every single week. Nani was able to avoid neck surgery. Um, Back to May and accountability. She recently messaged me, her clothes are fitting better. She's liking who she sees in the mirror because she knows she's putting in the work. It's been consistent. Even if maybe there's not a huge scale weight drop right now, she knows confidently that she knows what to do to continue on with this lifestyle, not having to grind and to slowly and sustainably be able to get a little stronger, shed some fat, not have to buy clothes one size up. So, the moral of the story, if your sort of goals are treated like a finish line rather than a lifestyle, if your health only works when you're on in temporary grind mode, the system is not quite automated in the background yet. Remember, the goal is yes, health, better labs, feeling better, looking better. And the way we do that without yo yo dieting and suffering is automated systems. How do we do automated systems? Habits. All right, second error, another sort of mindset thing. It's feeling like eating healthy takes too much time and effort and you're just not built to enjoy healthy foods. It's an unknown hidden belief, but it really affects all of us, especially since we've grown up in a world of fast food and hectic lifestyles where we don't have enough time or energy to wash, chop, cook. So let's take Carmen. Again, I changed the name. She told me straight up, there is no way I can live like this forever. Maybe I don't even want to lose the weight. She was trying to shop for food, wash veggies, potatoes, sweet potatoes, chop it, season it, cook it, and then she was washing the dishes on top of working full time and Ubering her kids around. And this is somebody who doesn't normally even go grocery shopping. So this was so much effort. By the time the food was ready, she was so tired. And then she was telling me she didn't even like the taste of the food. So what do we do? It was actually cognitive bandwidth that was overloaded. So we simplified, like we cut down the effort and the time once, and then we cut it down again. And so we started off with salad kits and store bought pre roasted veggies. Once she started to actually eat better consistently, like actually be able to enjoy vegetables rather than despise the taste, we would layer in batch prepping meals, veggies at home, maybe every other week. And 3 to 6 months later, she told me she lost a few inches of her waist. A few inches for this person is major. It's like a 2% drop in overall body fat. And it was just because of not trying to force things, not trying to rush things, cutting back effort to small baby steps and then just building on there. And then at the beginning, where she felt like food prep was like a daunting, painful chore that she despised, now she's telling me her wedding ring is spinning on her finger because she's been able to get a little leaner. So, moral of the story, we're not failing at nutrition. It's not genetics that makes us not want to cook or eat healthy. We just are tending to overcomplicate and overthink it. And we're being a little bit too ambitious in the beginning. So I'll tell you a story about me. My mom was a single mom. We ate out a lot, like at McDonald's. And then when she got remarried, we moved into my stepdad's house, and the afternoon sun would shine into the kitchen. So she despised cooking because the sun is shining in her face. There was no AC. She was hot all the time, and I knew that when she was cooking, she was not enjoying it. She was just doing it because she felt like she had to. And so um that is warranted. But I took that with me thinking, I don't think cooking is enjoyable. Plus, I don't cook and I'm not a good cook. So I just didn't do it. I didn't practice it. Cooking, just like nutrition and strength training, is a skill. You cannot expect to be good at it overnight. You just have to practice it and do it. But I did get the benefit of being inspired by my friend Melissa, who is an endurance athlete, and she takes pride in cooking healthy foods that are chock packed of nutrients and they taste delicious. I have never had healthy foods taste so delicious. And so she had taught her family that um, prepping vegetables is fun. It's a social thing where you catch up with each other. I was so surprised to see her high school daughter come home and chop fruit, chop vegetables, and have that for her afternoon snack. Because I don't know about you guys, my kids like to grab Cheetos and Takis. And so once I saw that, I sort of shifted away from feeling like cooking was such a chore, and I felt like cooking is a privilege. Now, yes, there is a time and energy factor. A lot of women are tired when they get home from work. They don't want to be on their feet in a hot kitchen. I totally get that. But again, going back to habits, I have a friend who she and her husband work over 50 hours a week. But because she grew up with both parents cooking a lot at home, and both her parents owned a business and they were super busy, but cooking was a habit, her life is so hectic. But whenever I go over, she is always cooking for her family in her work clothes because it's just become a habit. And when we eat at home more often, the food tends to taste better and it tends to be healthier. Restaurants do have a lot of healthy options nowadays, thank goodness. However, there is always going to be larger portions and more oil and salt and sugar added to restaurant food because it has to taste good. There's nothing wrong with it. We just need to be aware of that. So, that wasn't one nutrition sort of concept to consider. Under eating protein is the next one. Now, this one tends to be tricky. Women tell me it's difficult to get in enough protein without feeling stuffed. It is very difficult. Protein keeps us full. Protein is costly for the body to metabolize. So we burn a few extra calories just taking in that protein and having our body process it. And that is what we're going to use to our benefit to get strong and lean and not feel like we want to inhale a bag of Cheetos in the afternoon. And again, baby steps. It's we're not trying to do 40 grams of protein with 3 meals a day. Your body is just gonna and your cognitive load is just gonna reject that. The friction's gonna feel too high. But if we know that it's something that can be worked to in like a few weeks, a few months with baby steps, it's gonna start to feel more doable and less daunting. Again, we're just gonna have to settle for the tortoise pace. It wins every time. And so, and then not skipping meals. So you don't have to cook a full on breakfast, grabbing like a protein shake, storing something at your workplace, like protein powder, bone broth, something that you can, and you don't have to eat as soon as you wake up, especially if you wake up at 4 a.m. to work out, or if you're waking up at 5 a.m. to take the kids to school and you're just not hungry till 8 or 9. Have that dose of protein, though. The more often you dose the muscle with protein, the more opportunity you give it to repair, replenish, thrive, and grow. I know some of you are skipping meals because one, you're busy, two, your body is just used to that, three, maybe you're doing it in an attempt to calorie restrict and lose weight. Everybody's situation is different. Everyone has different ranges as far as fat loss and weight loss. Um, goals, and sometimes skipping meals can be a tool to restrict calories, especially if you've been over fueling. However, keep in mind that as we get older, the body is not as good as absorbing and incorporating protein into our muscle tissue. So we're going to need more of it more often. That's just how it is. So every skipped meal is a skipped opportunity to dose your body with protein. When you skip opportunities to dose your body with protein day in and day out again, it makes keeping muscle and building muscle almost impossible. So that's why in the coming years, 2026 and 2027, we're going to focus on, I think a lot of people are going to leverage peptides or known as GLPs, the Ozempic, the Mounjaro, Zepbound. And that's going to be great for uh, getting off that extra fat, putting us in a better metabolic position. However, because of its severe appetite suppression qualities, a lot of people are underdosing their protein. And so they're going to see the scale weight drop. Weight loss is going to stall. You're going to still feel squishy in your belly and your back if you're not eating enough and you're not getting enough protein. If the weight is coming off too quickly, muscle is going to follow, it's going to drop off too. And then we're going to be in a worse metabolic position. So that scale weight joy of hitting your goal scale weight is actually going to be canceled out by the time your body realizes it's lost so much muscle, and you're feeling more sore, and your capability to lift luggage, not and lift furniture and just be strong is not going to be there if you lose muscle. So we need to accept the fact that even if protein makes us full, we're going to be able to get close to our targets. And the way we're doing that is eating at least 3 meals a day. And so um, that's what it is. We have tons of tips in the community, and I'm always in there meeting you guys where you're at. So that's the moral of the story. You calorie restriction, there is a responsible way to do it. Skipping meals and skipping protein actually makes things worse. And then on to my next one. So this is me. This is an error that I was doing for years, probably like 15 years, trying to shape my body against its natural shape and genetics. For example, trying to perk up and grow my glutes while not wanting to make my legs larger, not wanting to train upper body because I didn't want to look too manly. I'm lucky I tend to build muscle quickly, but I didn't think I was lucky at that. I thought I'm really unlucky because if I just pick up some weights for upper body within 2 weeks, my traps are going to grow, my sports bra is going to be tight. I don't want to look manly. I don't like the comments. It feels embarrassing. However, thankfully, I had a trainer who just very um, matter of factly told me that I was being ridiculous. And at first, it poked at my ego and I was embarrassed. And then I went home and that embarrassment turned into empowerment. I was like, why in the world am I trying to shove a square peg through a round hole? And first of all, it's impossible to accomplish because my body is just not built that way. And secondly, it's causing me so much stress. You know, when you have a lot of stress, stress kills all progress towards building muscle and losing fat. So, went in there and I leveraged my natural strengths, and so will you. My natural strength is my body tends to build muscle easily. And if someone told me I look manly, then that was just another opportunity to practice mental resilience and to not get offended because I am in control of who offends me and who doesn't. And I'm still learning that. Um, so that was more of a mindset shift. And it's very helpful nowadays compared to in the 80s and 90s, where we were groomed to think that skinny and small is beautiful. And not just in America, in other countries too. Skinny and small was beautiful. But now, at least the world and our cultures are embracing strength, size, muscle. But it's still out there. It's real. The body dysmorphia, even for performance, badass female athletes, professional athletes still have body dysmorphia. So if it's tough for these guys who are performing at an elite level, we need to stay ahead of it at our just lifing, momming level. All right, that was my soapbox for that one. And then let's see, I'm just going to go over one more for the sake of time. So nowadays we are, if you're on social media and you're listening to the menopause experts, they're great. There's a orthopedic doctor, there's an endurance athlete, um, Fonda Wright, Stacy Sims. Who else is really great? Oh, Mary Claire Haver. Their content is great. There is sort of this interpretation of their content that all women need to be lifting really heavy in the 5 to 8 rep range. That is something to definitely have in your arsenal as an immediate or an advanced lifter. But if you are a beginner, we should not be lifting in the 5 rep range. It's too heavy. It's going to start breaking down your form and breaking down your range of motion. So, form keeps us safe. Range of motion keeps us building muscle efficiently, and it keeps our joints and our connective tissues healthy. So, what we are going to do, and of course, it depends on the individual, but for our purposes, it's just looking better, feeling better as we age, not being frail. We're going to train in the 10 to 18 rep range, close to failure, meaning we are feeling that strong burn. We're wanting to quit, pushing a little bit past that burn up until we're able to keep a safe form. And then knowing that we went intense enough that you have to rest at least a minute between sets. If you're not at that point where your heart is pounding and the burn is sensation is strong and where you're not having to rest a minute, that's more cardio. Cardio is not bad. There's a place for it, but it's not muscle hypertrophy. It's not growing the muscle. So I was doing that with the heavy weights because, and this is very common for men and women at any level, beginner, intermediate, advanced. It's our egos. We love to see the number on the weight go up. We love to feel capable. There's nothing wrong with that. So I would get heavier and heavier. And what happens over time? Everybody knows you get hurt, or my form would suck. I couldn't go through a full range of motion, and that's just not doing joints and connective tissues or muscle building any favors. Neither is reducing injury risk, which is already high as we move through life as it is. So that is just one common pitfall to be aware of. Let me have done the mistakes for you, learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to do it too. And what we're doing with these strength training, what we found, the sweet spot is 15 to 20 minutes, 5 days a week. We're doing minimal effective dose, right, to keep the friction low, because what there is a sweet spot to hitting the muscle hard enough, but not trashing your recovery. What is trash recovery? Trash recovery is like, for me, I was lifting 1 hour, 5 days a week, because I loved it, but I was constantly sore. I wasn't drinking enough water, and my body wasn't changing because recovery is where your muscle is built. What happens is you stimulate the muscle. There is an activation window when you're resting after you're done with your session. And in that activation window is where the muscle is repairing, and then it's building itself up to get stronger. So, what we want to do is we want to hit that sweet spot. We want to take advantage of that post strength training activation window as frequently as possible, and then we want to keep recovery high. So that means rest days, and that means workouts that are short and intense enough to stimulate the muscle and not wreck recovery. And that's everybody's going to have to find their sweet spot. But for our community, what's working now is that 15 minutes, 5 days a week. Um, and I just want to go over real quick certain. I think what we're doing now with the information we have on behavior change psychology and sort of introspection is we're able to leverage certain um, neuroscience aspects that we weren't all privy to when we were growing up. So it's beliefs. Beliefs are very powerful. What we believe is what we literally make happen in our environment, in our lives. Um, and a lot of times we're believing things that we don't even know it's under the surface. Um, and it's sneaky because it's making us spin our wheels, it's keeping us stuck, and we don't even realize it. So for I don't want to get too deep, but for example, saying I'm bad because I ate a certain way, when your body and your brain hears you say I'm bad, you've just given yourself a label, and that label will find evidence of in your environment that it actually is true. So believing that, switching that perception from I'm bad towards I am learning. It's actually, once you say that I'm learning, your brain is going to look for examples in your environment that you are actually capable. You're not stuck with this bad label. Um, other beliefs like my mom and dad had weak bones or certain disease states. So I'm very likely to have that. We've seen that patterns happen over time in history in many families. However, we've seen a lot of cases where the cycle has been broken. And so going into age and aging with a belief that you will just repeat something negative that was happening in your family history can be shifted towards I am aware of this in my family and can be proactive in preventing it rather than just laying down in resignation and waving the white flag. There's a difference between acceptance and pledging to be proactive versus resignation and laying down. One is empowering and proactive. The other is it's just giving up. And we don't do that, right? And so finally, I'll leave you with this. The last belief that we have to unlearn is that in order for us to love our bodies, my body has to change before I can love it. You will put in the reps, the effort, and then over time, even if your scale weight and your body size and shape does not change, you will start to love and appreciate who you see in the mirror because you look at yourself knowing you put the work in and the body size and shape doesn't matter. And then guess what? When you accept to love that your body is not only working, it's born children, it gets up every day and earns an income. When we stop trying to force things, we take our foot off of the brake and the gas simultaneously, and actually things start to feel lighter and progress starts to feel easier and it will go faster, I promise. So we're gonna, and it doesn't happen overnight. We're gonna just look in the mirror. We're gonna look at all the positives that our body has done for us. It gets up every single day. It gets the kids to school. It goes to a job. It comes home. It cooks and it cleans. It does exercises it doesn't love. It eats vegetables it doesn't love. And you get a lot of bonus points for that. And when you love your body, then it starts to love you back. I know it sounds cliche, but it doesn't have to look a certain way before we start to appreciate it. We take that pressure and that forcing away, and things start to automatically go faster and feel easier. That's all for today. I will see you guys in the community. Keep posting your completions, complete that trigger behavior reward loop, and ask me questions for accountability. Check my prompts and keep going. You're doing a great job. See you later.